Thank you so much. I don't know if I can live it up to the hype that my wife brought up, but I'll try. I'll try my best. Okay, so like Rebecca mentioned, my name is Adrian Nedelec. I'm a partner, realtor, investor, and team lead here at Mogul Edmonton. And today we're going to be talking about medium-term rentals. So what does that mean? And does it make sense to add that into your portfolio? All right. So what is a medium-term rental? How do we define that? So first, it's a furnished property. It's somewhere that a guest or tenant is going to stay for 30 days or more. And it's a good alternative for hotel long-term stays. So let me ask you guys, what type of tenant profile are we probably going to see? Who are the clients coming to a medium-term rental? Awesome. So executives, oil workers, yes. Rebecca gave you guys kind of a hint. What else? Carlos, yeah. Pardon? Students, perfect. We had another one. Out of town, yeah. You're probably cheating over there too. Yeah. 100%. Carlos, keep going. Awesome. Yeah. Anybody else? This side of the room. You guys are a little quiet over here. I know he's yeah. Yeah. Insurance claims. Awesome. Special projects like Walmart's. Yeah. I mean, you guys nailed it all. So who are they for? So executive and corporate clientele. So we have most people, when they think of executive, they think of like the high up bosses, but there's a lot of people who come for special projects. We do have the executives, the vice presidents who come up. We have HR people, we have engineers. So all those people tend to come to a special project, come to maybe headquarters, and they stay for a month, 2 months. But it's a difference between staying in a hotel versus staying somewhere else. And when you take a look at, say, a suite in a traditional hotel, you're probably paying $300 to $400 a night for those types of hotels. Times that by 30 days, that's close to $10,000. So when we're seeing some of these medium-term rentals that clock in at about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, when corporations go on budgets, these make sense. They make lots of sense. Next is insurance claim clientele. So any of you know Juanita from our power team? She's the residential cleaner. Does anybody know Juanita? I know the Mogul team does. So unfortunately, Juanita, a couple years ago, she lived in a condo in the West End, and somebody thought it'd be a great idea to put a cigarette butt out in a pot, and it went up in flames, and it ended up burning a good chunk of the building, about a quarter of it down. There was over 100 units in that building, and they had smoke damage, they had water damage. And because of that, if you didn't have the right insurance policy in place, people still had to pay for their mortgage, and they also had to pay for a new place to live. So we saw Cal somewhere he's in the back. So Cal is also on our power team. So if you need to talk about insurance, this is an eye opener for me, because people had to find a new place to live. There was hundreds of residents out trying to find a new place to live. So medium-term rentals, they don't know if it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, or 24 months in order for them to move back into their place. Most of their stuff is water damaged, smoke damaged, and so they need to find a place to live. A short-term rental like Airbnb is not going to do it. Nobody wants to stay in a hotel, and getting a long-term rental, they might not be there for a year. So what do? You got to find something in between. Next is athletes, special event attendees, and participants, because what's happening? There's events, there's activities. The Oilers need somebody because, somebody gets injured. Connor McDavid hits the post and now his back is out. And what happens? You pull some up from the AHL. Where are they going? Probably not a hotel, probably not an Airbnb. We need to find somewhere else for these people. Same thing with events like the Fringe Festival. It's a 2-week event. People come for a couple weeks before, a couple weeks after. We need to find a good spot for these individuals. Guests with extended vacations. Edmonton, I was talking to Heather. She's like, I don't know who comes to Edmonton anyways, but places like Vancouver and other cities where you have a great place to live. You have a lot of residents from, people who live there from other countries. Family come in, they want to spend some time. They're not going to do Airbnb. They're not going to do hotels. What are they going to do? And then last but not least, I know for me, I've had and experienced this myself. Whoever can line up, when a client sells a property and then possession happens or a new build is happening, trying to line all that up, it doesn't work. I always tell my clients, you either get to own 2 homes or 0 homes, but you have to make a choice. Because if I'm trying to negotiate a possession date with the buyers and what you want, it's probably not going to work. As much as we are experts, we can't get everyone to agree to everything. So this happens as well, where people don't want to move their furniture 2 or 3 times, moving from one place to the next to the next. So they're going to look for a medium-term rental. So let's talk about the 30-day model and why. So a lot of people are probably like, well, let's just do Airbnb. We can do it for a little bit of a longer term. But big reason, strata and condo bylaws are getting even more restrictive. Like, it's getting pretty crazy with some of the bylaws that are getting pushed through from the condo boards. We're seeing lawsuits come down where, there's a big chunk of the building doing short-term rentals. Condo boards don't like it. They typically make a rule where it's 30 days and longer, and they're good to go. So that's why we have that in between. That's why the medium-term rental is there. Multi-month stays. And we kind of talked about some of the clientele that we would be dealing with and facing with. But what do they want? If you're staying for somewhere for a couple months, hotels are nice for a week. Same thing with Airbnbs. They're okay for a little bit, but you don't want to stay there like for over a month, 2 months. So we have to look at something that's going to be more like home. So home style stays. People want a kitchen, people want a living room, people want a dining space, people want to have a space to entertain, a space to relax, a space to hang out. And last but not least, so less turnover and less management. So I was telling Heather this and Kyle this story a little bit earlier. Rebecca and I used to manage, we have a main floor suite. We lived in the main floor, and we had a basement suite, and we had some amazing students who rented from us. But every summer they would want to leave and go to Calgary, and they wanted to come back. And we said, well, we can't just have a 4-month vacancy. So we ended up making a pretty good agreement with them. We said, okay, we'll charge you half month's rent. You keep your furniture as like a storage fee. We use your furniture. We'll Airbnb it to recoup some of our costs. And then when you come back in September, the place is yours. And so we thought we were pretty smart. We'd make a little bit of extra money, and it went okay for the first little bit. And then we were like, who are we letting in our basement? We're trying to vet all these tenants, and things are like kind of funny. And people are like, I'm coming in for a wedding. And then they never left the house. The dad kept coming and going in like all hours of the night. And we're like, what is going on? What is this guy doing? And we just like couldn't vet as much as we wanted to. And then you look at our daily rate, which is like $50 to $60 a night. So even if they're staying 1 night or 2 nights or 3 nights, no matter what, you're still paying a cleaning fee. If you get a good deal, maybe $40. If you're having a $60 daily rate, now you got $20 in profit. If we're going to Starbucks and spending $14, now that's 70% of our profit. So, it's kind of, you have to look at it in a couple of different ways. So for us, it didn't work out as much as we wanted it to. But why does it make sense? So the 30-day model, as Devin pointed out earlier in his presentation, interest rates are going up. Even like a cash flow king city like Edmonton, we are still dealing with trying to find properties that cash flow. Interest rates go up. but rental inflation is not keeping up as fast as interest rates are going up. So it's harder and harder to cash flow these properties. And so this is why it's a good alternative to look at something that can still cash flow, but you're getting into another asset. As you all know, real estate is all based on location. So location, location, location. So we're going to highlight a couple spots in both Vancouver and also in Edmonton. So downtown. Downtown, we talked about the executive style individuals. That's typically who you're going to see in the downtown type of properties. They want to be close to a lot of amenities. They want to be close to their head offices. You're going to be talking to a lot of the executive and corporate style individuals. There's a cool spot called Commercial Drive in Vancouver. If you've ever been there, it's pretty fun. They do a lot of film. They do a lot of filming. They have they're a big film industry in Vancouver. So thinking about actors and crews and people that come in for filming, great spot to host midterm rentals. Industrial corridors. So some of the manufacturings and other facilities that people are going to have, these are also great spots. We want to be close to amenities and walkable. People want to walk to parks. People want to walk to restaurants. They don't have a vehicle. They want to be close to transit. All these things are going to be super important when you're looking for a location for your midterm rental. So when we look at the type of property that we're going to be searching for, if you're close to the core, especially downtown, the rental markets are crazy there. People will rent out a closet. And some of the units are actually like closets. They're very, very small. But for downtown Vancouver, it is quite normal. So the smaller, close to the core is going to be more geared towards the tenant profile and guests of executive and corporate rentals. So just look at kind of the radius of businesses and places that people are going to be working. When we go into the larger and suburb areas, that's going to be closer to your family. So for example, the story about Juanita, she went into the suburbs. She found a place where it was more like a townhouse style. She needed more space for her and her spouse. And so those were some of the things that she was looking at. Let's talk about Edmonton. So when we look at Edmonton, so we have our downtown core. You know, obviously it's being revitalized and we have the ICE district and all that good stuff. So we're looking at the downtown core. You want to be really focused, I would say, in the ICE district. 104th Street is a fantastic location. Talking about walkability, we're very close to a lot of those walkable spots, restaurants, bars. We're close to transit. You can get to the entertainment district. You can do all that stuff right in that core. Industrial corridors, you know, we're kind of in the light industrial in the West End area. We have our kind of like East Suncor, some of the bigger industrial areas, and then South, anything along kind of the Henday area tends to be pretty good as well. So smaller, close to the core. If anyone has ever looked at any of the units and the legends, they're pretty tiny, but they do work and they do work quite well just because of the space and how close the proximity they are to the amenities that they need. Same thing again with the larger type properties close to the suburbs. Those are things that you're going to be looking at for most of the families. So what do we look for in a target unit? So building amenities is huge. If you're there for 2 months, it's not like you're going to sign up for, you know, a Good Life membership where they lock you in for 24 months. You know, you want to find the amenities of what people would use when they're at home in the building that you have. So gyms are massive, pools, saunas, anything that you can think of that's going to be a good amenity is things that you want to see. Spacious bedrooms. Like we talked about a shoebox, people know it, but if they're not from Vancouver and they're not from if you go from Edmonton, like I stayed at James's house one time and he told me it was a 2-bedroom. It's not a 2-bedroom. Like if you're paying 2-bedroom prices, James, if you're watching this, talk to your landlord because that was like a 1.5 bed. I don't even know. It was like a closet, but I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us stay there. Open layout is super important as well. If you're thinking about some of the properties, open layouts, it's been a buzzword for a long time. So if you're looking at a building that's a little bit older, if you're doing renovations, it's great. You can add to that. But if you're looking at older buildings, just think about it. It might be hindrance to the tenants or guests that you are bringing in. Ample parking. Edmonton, we don't really think about parking too much because everyone's got a vehicle. You can usually park anywhere. It's not a problem. But again, if you're in a bigger city, parking is definitely something people look for. And you can charge additional to the guests. And also if they don't use it, you can charge it to a third party as well. Usable outdoor space. So this is actually pretty important. So imagine if you're like a vice president of one of these companies and you love your dog and you got to bring your dog with you. Let's say you come to the Legends, for example. You're kind of like close to Boyle Street. You're right in that area. You got to take your little dog out for a walk. Where are you going to do it? Where are they going to go busy in that area? Busy is the term for going to the bathroom for a dog. We used to train service dogs, and that was the keyword that we used to use. So now it's stuck in my mind anytime I say it. So we would say busy, and then they would go. It's kind of cool. So where are they going to go? You're kind of like in a concrete jungle. So what the Legends actually did is pretty cool. They have a section for animals, for pets to go to the washroom, you pick up after yourself. So it's great. You can have your pet. You don't have to worry about it. You're not dealing with it like at a hotel or anything like that. Also, a lot of places don't allow barbecues on balconies. So that's also important. Do you want a barbecue? Do you want a space to entertain? Rooftop patios are awesome. All those things are really, really important when you're looking at some of the spaces. New or like new condition. Think about your clientele. Think about if you were the person moving into that place, you were going to be there for a couple months. What would you like to see? So you could even say maybe a little bit on the luxurious side. Those are the things that you want to be targeting. So note, kind of bolded, it's up there, not the same as Airbnb. Carlos does a lot of Airbnb stuff. You can ask him about it. People are there to Airbnb it. They want an experience. The things are unique, artistic, kind of tchotchke. There's a lot of character. You don't really want that stuff when you're staying there for 2 months, 3 months. I don't know if you guys have ever been to an Airbnb, but you're like, why do they have this rickety table? And like you look at the photos and it's just a bunch of IKEA stuff and it looks good from the photos. Pierre's definitely done that. He's just raised his hand in the back there. And you're kind of like, what? Like it looked nice, but it's just all cheap. So you don't want to do that. How do we cash flow? How do we maximize our cash flow? So again, think about it like, what do you want when you're at home? What are the niceties that you have? So full utilities, obviously that's, that makes sense. Cable, internet, maybe some of your subscriptions. You want Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, supply that stuff. Those are the things that are going to like bring you above and beyond some of the other people out there. Hotel grade furnishings and finishings. So anything that people touch, linens, towels, same thing. Like you touch like cheap dollar store towels. It's not the same. You go to a hotel, you have nice plush stuff. People remember that. People like that feeling. Stock the kitchen. Coffee is very important. Water bottles, all the basic ingredients that you need to cook, to have. Those are the things that you want to stock up and make sure you have. This one is super clutch, super cool. Regular cleaning. So most people think, okay, not a big deal. But your cleaner is like the person on the inside. They're giving you ideas of what's happening at the property. They're going in, they're doing their kind of like basic housekeeping stuff, but they're also in there to let you know if there's any maintenance issues. They're letting you know if there's anything weird going on there. You can catch a lot of those expensive items by having a cleaner go in on a consistent basis. So you don't have to go crazy with it, but it can be a service that you add, and it's also a benefit for you as a landlord. And last but not least, basic concierge services. So you're not like answering the phone on the weekend, booking them a cab or sending them an Uber. Like that's not what you're doing, but you're helping them get climatized into the community. You want them to be engaged in the community. You want them to know what's going on. Where do you go to eat? Where are the restaurants? What are the things to do? What are the activities? All those sort of things are very important for a person who's living there. You can even go one step further and start into introducing yourself, meeting business owners, coffee shops, restaurants. Have a conversation with them. Let them know what kind of business you're doing. See if you can get a discount. For somebody's first coffee, they get a pastry for free or they get 10% off. Have that in the concierge book. And now you're supporting the community in which your business is. And now it's a referral network between you and the business owners in that community. And then also it's just a nice touch to have as somebody who is going out to grab a coffee, hey, I got 10% off, or I got a free pastry with my cookie. So we're going to do a quick case study. So this is a property in Vancouver. So this is the downtown area. This is called Howe Street. So nice, safe area in Vancouver. So this is just a highlight of our Mogul pro forma. So a couple of things is we give you the specs of the property. And because most of us on the team, pretty much everyone on the team is an investor, we have that mindset as an investor. So you want to think about what is it going to be like to own that property? So how's the location? It's giving a little detailed description of that location. Who's our tenant profile? Who is this property going to attract? What are they going to be like? That's what you want to know. And buyer expectations. So in this property, for example, it's a furnished rental. So you have to know you're going to buy this property. Most likely it's going to be vacant, and then you're going to have to furnish it. So those are your expectations going into that purchase. So this property is a 1999 build. It's a condo. It's about 602 square feet. So, decent size for a downtown Vancouver condo. You have your underground stall. So again, pretty important for your additional revenue. So this is an additional revenue source for you. So super important to have that. And then it's a 1-bed, 1-bath. Okay, so let's dive into the numbers. Purchase price, $584. Minimum down payment on a rental is 20%. You have your legal at $1,500, inspection, contingency funds. So typically we say about 5,000 or about 1%. Always put that away into a reserve fund so you don't have to worry about it. Put that into your numbers right from the get-go, because you don't want to start the account at zero and then go into overdraft. Just like account for it right off the bat. It's way easier that way. For you individuals who've never purchased in BC or don't know, Alberta doesn't have this, but BC does, which is called land transfer tax. The government has been flirting with it for some time, hasn't been brought into Alberta, which is fantastic. But this is something that they will charge you at closing. Okay, so add that into your total investment numbers. And then for furnishings, we're budgeting about $7,000. And then we're using our mortgage terms. So everything is pretty up to date. So like Devin, this was prepared prior to yesterday. So we'd have to check with a mortgage broker if 5.45 is still the going rate. I think it's pretty close. 30-year amort, 5.45%. We got a 5-year term and a variable mortgage. And so revenue clocking in. So monthly rent on this guy is $5,900. So this is budgeted from a property manager. $150 for that additional stall. So this is where you get that additional money. If the tenant doesn't have a car, again, you can rent it out to a third party. So another little bonus that you can have there. You have your typical expenses like normal: mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, internet and cable. Add your subscriptions there if you want. And then you have your condo fees and then your management. So this is 30%. So we'll come back to this number. We'll talk about it a little bit more. And then you have your vacancy at 4%. And then you have your repair and maintenance budget at 2%. If you've ever seen any of our like single family pro formas, we usually budget about 5%. This being a condo, you only worried about what's inside. So it's a little bit lower. So our cash flow is 297, and then our reserve fund contribution. So if you're not running any vacancy for the month, and if you don't have any repair and maintenance, that money gets pushed into our cash flow. So total cash flow, total profit on this guy is $660. Here is where it's pretty cool. Most of us who have been investing in Edmonton for the last, say, 10 years, appreciation hasn't been the main card in the game, unfortunately. We're a long-term city, but Vancouver has been an appreciation city for quite some time. And so here, typically in our pro formas in Edmonton, we track about a 1% to 2% appreciation rate. In Vancouver, pretty cool, about a 5%. So that's, a pretty conservative guesstimate at that. So being in Edmonton versus Vancouver versus Edmonton in this situation, it's nice to add in a little bit of cash flow and a little bit of appreciation, which is different than what we've seen in Edmonton. So remember I said we'll go back to that 30% on the property management. So this is Livin Local. It's a company out in Vancouver. And what they do, which is pretty unique and pretty cool, so they actually rent direct from you, the owner, and then they sublet to the tenant. So they basically handle everything for you as the owner. They'll rent the property, they'll give you that monthly income, and then they'll sublet to a tenant. They take care of the full services, so cleaning, concierge, all the supply management. So making sure that coffee's filled up, making sure that water bottle's there. They're managing everything. They take care of the tenant placement. They take care of the ongoing management. They take care of the tenant turnover. All that stuff is done by them through that 30%. And they have a ton of corporate relations. So organizations, corporations, they have a lot of relationships that they would have to grab the tenants that you want into your property. That kind of gives you maximized rents, gives you reliable tenants, and they are accountable to the tenant. So you don't have to deal with kind of the nightmares that come with the story that Rebecca and I had. So we did, the Vancouver team did an interview with Livin Local, and they recorded it. So if you guys are interested, you want to learn more about that company and what they do and their business, just chat with one of the Mogul team members. We're here to help and answer those questions. They can send you the interview that they had with them. So to recap and to summarize, the question was, does medium-term rentals make sense? And for an investor who's been in Edmonton for quite some time, we've experienced a lot of cash flow. It's fantastic. We have the mortgage pay down, we have cash flow, but I've never really seen appreciation. And I've always been scared to jump into the Vancouver market because it just seems like it's never ending. It's always going up. So Rebecca and I were talking about Warren Buffett this morning, and we were talking about the quote, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. We talked about how interest rates are. People are scared. So is this the time to be greedy? I think it might be. And is Vancouver a good market? It might be. So these are the things to consider as an investor. These are the things that we're looking at as an investor team. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed.
All right. Thank you, Adrian. We want to leave a couple minutes here for questions. Are there any questions here? Yes. Can you repeat the question again? All right, so not using Airbnb to market the rental. This is for the folks online as well, by the way. I promise I'm not just repeating the question, but not using Airbnb to market the rental. What are your other options?
Great question. So there's I think, have you guys ever seen the Verbo ads, like VRBO? So that's another platform that people can use. And it's all about creating relationships with organizations. This company, Livin Local, kind of does the work for you up front, and you can get creative with it. So I have a client who has a property by the University of Alberta, and she rents it out. She's very close to the Cross Cancer Institute, so she targets professionals like professors coming in to teach a semester. So they're going to be there for 4 to 8 months. People who are going through long-term treatment, they want their family to be close by. They want to have a nice, cozy environment. So